Hi, I'm Jack. Today I'm going to be talking about my job as a teaching assistant and other jobs that I've had in the past. I'm a specialist hearing impaired teaching assistant. I'm employed by the Lancasterian Sensory Support Service in the hearing impaired resource base of a mainstream primary school. I work alongside the teacher of the deaf. She plans lessons with me and for me to deliver. So it's very varied. It's very interesting, very enjoyable. So I joined the service in September 2012 and I've been here ever since. So the Lancasterian Sensory Support Service is a big organisation. It's an umbrella term with various services attached in, and it's also a primary school. So I applied to be a teaching assistant in the primary school in January 2012. I was working there for 7 months. So it kind of came towards the end of the year and the head of the service approached me saying that they had a job. Would I like to apply? It wasn't a conventional kind of route into my job. I didn't have to go through a rigorous selection and interview process. I was working as a TA in the Lancasterian school beforehand, and I was working in a class with children with various language and communication difficulties. I went to a mainstream primary school and a high school and then sixth form. In terms of impact, it's had an impact, but I've always I've been able to succeed in classes and be kind of on par, sometimes better than my peers, like academically. I've always had support from a teacher of the deaf as a peri child when I was in primary school and high school, and I went to university and had note takers. I've always used support given to me and used it quite well. I have been to university and done A-levels. I did A-levels in English Lit and psychology and French, and then went on to do education studies at Sheffield Hallam because I thought at the time that I wanted to do teaching, but I wasn't sure. So I did kind of a broader degree which gave me more options. At university I was doing placements and going into primary schools and various things, working with young people. So I've always known that I wanted to work with people and young people. It's just I didn't know whether I wanted to be a teacher when I was 18, 19. As an adult, I've had a couple of other jobs outside education. One was a waiter for Manchester United. I was a waiter for 4 years in the executive boxes. When it came to customers, I kind of developed strategies for taking their order. I kind of developed a system of asking them all individually, one person at a time, their starter, mains and dessert, and so that I didn't miss anyone out, and so that I was focused on one person speaking at a time. In the kitchen, I didn't really have time to explain to the chefs about my deafness because there's 60 other waiters on my floor. I had a supervisor and I made them aware, and they would be in the kitchen, literally standing in between my side of the kitchen and the chef's side, making sure that I had the order correct. I used my supervisor to check that the chef had the right order and I had the right order together. She was fine doing that and that worked with us. The difficult thing was when you might get posted to a different restaurant. I would just kind of make sure that the supervisor knew, and if I was working with a partner, just make sure that they knew. It's hard to kind of explain to the kitchen staff just when there's not very much time in the day. It was a difficult job, but I did really enjoy it. I'd never advise a deaf person not to work in hospitality or waiting or waitressing because of the level of noise. There's a lot of strategies and a lot of things that can be put in place to get around it. I left because I didn't need the job. It was casual, part-time work, kind of weekend work. So I was combining that with my full-time job for a couple of years, and then I just decided I didn't need to combine the two anymore. So in my current role as a TA in a mainstream primary school, all the children wear a radio aid, which is like this one I'm wearing. It's called a Comfort Audio radio system, and it's joined with a transmitter and a receiver. that the teacher wears. The service paid for a system for each of our children, and I also got one myself via Access to Work. It just makes listening a lot easier. Without it, you have to really focus and try a lot harder to listen, because I don't have that direct input. And that means I have to remind the teacher to unmute their system or the necklace or the microphone. All of us TAs and teachers of the deaf will do that, because the teacher is thinking about hundreds of other things, and they might forget. I'm reminding the teacher about the equipment, but I'm also reminding the teacher to repeat something that I may have missed, so that I can relay it to my pupil. And also, because I go into a lot of classes, a lot of the children are aware of my deafness, but some of them aren't, so I have to kind of remind them that, you know, I've got a hearing aid as well, and you need to say it slower or say it louder. I mean, one of the first things I said when I joined the team was I made them aware of my deafness and how I might struggle, and how I wasn't being rude if they thought I was ignoring them. It's because I couldn't hear. And when I've gone to new jobs, I make it clear about my hearing loss and my level of deafness, so people are aware, and I don't have any worries or any qualms about doing that. People need to know, and I need to tell them.